everybody. In this week's video, I'm just going to talk about some tools that I have around the house. This isn't really a video about I recommend this brand or this tool versus that tool. It's just the tools that I have, on hand all the time. So I guess we'll start off with some hand tools, and I actually have this little bag full of them. So starting off, adjustable combo square. I use this thing probably anytime I'm actually doing a woodworking project, but in the house, all not too much. A lot of times for hanging things, it has a little level, but it's just a really nice, easy tool to have, and you can find these really at any woodworking store or home improvement store. So Lowe's, Home Depot, they have them. Also, one of probably the more important things, safety glasses. I always try to keep two pairs. One pair being, I wear without glasses, and then this pair actually goes over my glasses. I highly recommend, if you do wear glasses, get the pair that goes over, because if you don't, you end up having to switch out your safety glasses with your prescription glasses, and it gets kind of frustrating. Let's see what else in here. Obviously, well, I'll get this whole thing down. So when I was working in Colorado, I had this little pack on me basically the entire work day, because I was doing woodworking out there and mill work, I guess, for a company, and you never know when you need to have a few items. So tape measure I always had on me, pencils. I don't want to go all too much, but I mean some handy things like one of these. It's a screwdriver, but you can flip out. It has a number 1 and number 2, both Phillips and flat. This is a really useful tool. You don't really think about it until you need it. Other things in here, some really, really old needle nose pliers. This is a razor blade. This is really handy. It also has the blade back here, so you can cut rope or stuff like that. Other things in here, just some simple chisels. These are, these aren't necessarily quality chisels, but they're just extremely helpful to have. A really simple mallet, and then like a 5-in-1, or this might be a 3-in-1, but it's multiple uses for this tool. And you can kind of see that they're all rusty because I haven't used a few of these tools in a while. But I try to keep this just in case I'm doing something around the house. I want a pencil, or want to tape measure, and it hooks onto my belt, so I have everything in one place. I don't have to keep running around trying to find everything. So I try to keep this together. Also in here, I have just a simple hand plane. Again, this is kind of rusty. I need to sharpen these blades, but just some stuff I have. I think I've used this more recently for firewood kindling, making really fine shavings to start fires, campfires, or we have a fire pit. More than woodworking, but also a block plane. This is Lee Nielsen. This is just a great plane. I'm not going to go into super details about any of this stuff, but it's just handy to have something like this around. And then also in here, and these are, again, kind of some random tools, but just some vice grips. So, anyways, so these are some of the basic tools in here. I just kind of have these on hand all the time. If I'm doing a project, or if someone calls me up and says, "Hey, can you come help me hang some picture frames or something?" I take that with me. And then with that, a hammer and a dead blow mallet. Use these all the time. Been doing a lot of gardening recently, putting stakes in the ground. Super, super handy to have. Then with that, a pole saw. I picked this up at Lowe's. This one, I thought it was kind of interesting because I had a fine teeth and then a coarse tooth. But I find myself not using the coarse tooth that much. This is just a really nice, easy tool to have for, you can use this in the yard. I've used this to cut up firewood before and stuff like that. Again, it's a pole saw, so when you pull, it cuts, opposed to a traditional, push cut. But it's just kind of something really simple, really easy to have. Very nice to have. It's real thin, curves real thin, so you can flush cut with it. I have that there. Let's see. A set of chisels. These are maybe on a little bit more expensive end, but not all super. But I use these more for fine woodworking. I take them to the shop. I use them there. I don't typically try to use these for home stuff unless I'm, I build something and bring it home and I'm like, oh, I forgot to chamfer an edge or forgot to cut something. Then I'll pull this out. But I believe this is an 1/8 of an inch all the way up to. Let me get that back on. It goes down to, an 1/8 of an inch all the way up to 1.5 inches, I believe. Yeah. Anyways, this, I wouldn't recommend this for, just someone having at home for basic, repairs and whatnot, but it's just nice to have, and it came with a nice little case. Moving on to some other tools. So I have an HDX box, which is basically Lowe's or Home Depot. They have different brands. This big old tub, and I keep all these tools in it. I do have tool chests and stuff and storage in here, but a lot of times, at least the stuff I have here is like, okay, well, I'm gonna go, hang a shelf unit or something like that. Well, I have all those basically tools for simple repairs and whatnot in the house in a central location because I use them quite frequently. And with that, I'll bring to mention, I picked this up at Lowe's. I've had a few of these over the time, and it looks like a traditional toolbox. A lot of times people make them out of wood. This is a little bit lighter. I love this thing because I have my tools in a box. I have to go work on a project in a different room. I just put all the tools I need in here, and I keep them all in one place. And then when I'm done with the tools, I put them back. But this just allows me to move around really easily. There's no bells and whistles about this. It's just real simple. It's just handy to have. So I use that when I'm working on projects. I'm moving into some power tools here. This video is not sponsored by DeWalt or anything. I just happen to have a lot of DeWalt tools. I guess I'm just used to using them. But impact driver, probably more well known as a standard drill here. I like having impact driver and a drill because I can drill a hole, drive a screw. Those of you who know about impact drivers know that they're extremely handy to have, and it's so nice. This is a 20 volt. This is an 18 volt. I've had this one for a while, so when I bought this impact driver, I knew I wanted something at least 18 or 20 volt, just for the power and the longevity, I guess, of use. But anyways, so with this, I have these little. Well, this one's all junkified. But I have these little bit cartridges. These are helpful to have. There's lots of bits in here. I typically just use a Phillips number 2 about 95% of the time, and rarely do I go to anything else. Obviously, a flathead. Sometimes a Phillips number 1 if it's the screws apply. Something I did pick up, and I want to just say is these. They fit in the impact. They can fit in a drill too. I don't really know what to call them, but there's 3 different sizes: 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch, and they fit sockets. And that is extremely nice. I bought 3 packs of these and keep them in here because anytime I'm working on anything with nuts and bolts, I can do it by hand, or I can just hook one of these up to the impact driver, put the socket on it, and boom. It's so nice. Anyway, so yeah, just, these aren't, I'm not saying that you should go out and buy DeWalt brand or buy these brands. These are just things that I have on hand. And, I bought like a kit of these that came with like 4 different ones, and I use them. I mean, they're useful. They're all in together. They have little places. I mean, this is drill bits. It only goes up to 3/8. It's not every variety. It goes. There's a few 64s. I mean, it's basically the common sizes. This is helpful for majority of things I do. But if that's not the case, then what I do have is one of these bit sets. Obviously, you can see some are missing. 1/2 inch all the way down to 1/16, and there's multiples of, especially the small ones that break. I don't spend a lot of money. I kind of prefer to get cheaper drill bits, these twist bits. I got into Harbor Freight, and you can buy all different things over there, and you can go to different places, and they have really nice bits and really cheap bits. But I find that at least at home, I get the cheap ones. I mean, I'm drilling into drywall or maybe a stud or something like that. And I'm not too worried about the diameter, but that can be a whole different conversation. So anyways, drill driver. I'm going to run out of space here, so just bear with me. Last week's video I did mention a sander. It's just a really nice thing to have. I mean, there's a lot of really simple projects you can do at home, which just go into, I got sawdust everywhere. Go into the thrift store, picking up some old furniture, sanding it, repainting it. It looks completely new. You can do all that with just a sander. Yeah. Sometimes it shoots sawdust at me, so sorry about that. So yeah, I got the sander. Something I picked up recently because I've been, again, I keep going back to gardening, but it's a staple gun, and this is actually, so I'm going to get a little detail about this, really cool. But I was making some cedar, not posts, cedar little fencing thing to go around some shrubs and stuff like that, and I was tacking some metal wire onto them, and I wanted, I didn't need a compressed, pneumatic or compressed air staple gun for it, but I wanted, something. And they had like 6 different types, and what caught my eye with this is it can shoot 4 different types, not sizes, but types of staples and brad nails, and it's it's a hand powered, so it's really unique. And of course on the side here it has all the basically sizes. Now brad nails are only 1/2 inch and 5/8, but I mean that's just a really versatile tool. And when I first started using this, I was getting frustrated because the staples weren't, going in all the way or whatnot. Then I realized that there's a little switch over here for, if you want them to stick up a little bit or go in, as well as there's this adjustment here for brad nails and staples. I had it on brad nails, but anyways, it's just a handy tool. I think having one of these is beneficial for a lot of different reasons. I think it was like 15 or 20 bucks at Lowe's. And it looks kind of cool too, but again, DeWalt. Also a DeWalt. A tool that I don't necessarily recommend for any, again, this isn't really woodworking, it's just me having tools on hand. I have an angle grinder. It's not something that a lot of people need to have. It has its uses, and but it's more of a, if you're getting into metalworking or need to especially cut metal, or grind metal for that matter, this is a helpful tool. It was on sale at Lowe's, and and I'll show you here in a second. The real reason why I got this is because I found these I don't know what they're called necessarily. You can get them at Klingspor, but they're basically for sanding or cutting wood. And what I've been getting into recently is, bear with me, I haven't finished this one obviously, but making bowls without using a lathe. I kind of like the challenge of, here's the standard way, or not standard, here's a way to do it, let's do it differently. So using this attachment, I can basically take material off. It's basically like a super coarse sandpaper or whatnot. But this is the inside of the bowl, and I'm going to eventually get to the outside out of this chunk of walnut. But it's just really unconventional. It's really cool. I've been playing with that, getting really dirty with sawdust. But I just wanted to bring that in because I think I'm going to do a video on this in the future, about me making, carving, or doing, I don't know what the correct term for this is, sanding, carving, who knows. I'm trying to read if this has a name. No. But anyways, getting into this because it's fun, and it has a unique feel. I don't know. So, again, this video is not, again, really on woodworking, though there are some fine woodworking stuff in here. Just stuff that I have all the time. Now, this does not include like hardware and stuff like that, because anytime you're doing home projects, you're gonna want like a hanging set and whatnot. But I can get into that later. But these are just tools I have all the time. I do have a storage unit that has a tool chest that has saws and whatnot in there. But those I keep separate because I'm not, majority of the time I'm not going to be needing a circular saw when I can use the shop and have a table saw. But I do think I will put together a list of maybe 10 tools I recommend for, I say a woodworker, but really just a hobbyist who's wanting to, do some DIY projects at home. I plan to get, I'm probably going to do a 10, I don't want to quote myself too early on this, but probably a 10 tool, power tool. I don't know. Either way, I'm going to do a list and kind of recommend and talk about each tool, why it's beneficial, and what kind of stuff you can do with it. I know you can find videos on the internet, but of other people doing something like this. But I just, from an avid woodworker, I can break some stuff down and definitely get you guys going. So, anyways, thank you again for tuning into this episode of John, the Wood Studio Manager, doing stuff. And take it easy.